Today on Culture and the Arts, we're talking about an extremely powerful book. One I am almost certain you've heard of, one that I've read several times, and I find a whole lot of value and wisdom in this book. This, of course, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you've never read the book before, and you should, I want to offer you guys an introduction to the book that hopefully kind of whets your curiosity whistle. I did it again, Al. That's 3 times with the curiosity whistle. Oh no, I'm hiring a proofreader. This is too much. I want to offer you an introduction to the book that hopefully makes you curious enough to read it. And if you've already read it, which I imagine many of you guys have, that's cool too. I'm giving you a refresher. I like refreshers. And hey, maybe there's some of this stuff you use every day. Maybe there's 1 or 2 points you don't remember and you start applying it again and you're rolling. Rolling. I'm also going to, of course, share with you guys how I use some of these habits on the daily or some of the ways even I might apply something like this. I am also going to use as a reference here, none other than the man himself, guys, James Clear. So a lot of this is going to come from the website. So what is Atomic Habits? Atomic Habits by James Clear is a comprehensive, practical guide, it is, on how to change your habits and get 1% better every day. Just 1. Using a framework called the 4 Laws of Behavior Change, Atomic Habits teaches readers a simple set of rules for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. Sounds great to me, frankly, it works. Let's talk about the habits themselves, how I apply them, and where I feel they've made the most impact to me, and even maybe 1 or 2 things I differ with a little bit. Let's look at the 3 key lessons from Atomic Habits, and of course, I'm going to keep quoting James. Who would be better to quote than him? So lesson number 1 is small habits make a big difference. It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. Meanwhile, by improving by 1%, it's not particularly noticeable. Sometimes it's not noticeable at all, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time can be absolutely astounding. Here's how the math works out. It's not my math, it's his. If you can get 1% better every day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for a year, you'll decline nearly down to 0, which is bad. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much, much more powerful. It doesn't matter how successful or how unsuccessful you are right now. What matters is your habits. Are these habits putting you on the path towards success? So focus on getting 1% better every day. I love this habit. And for me, this goes hand in hand with 2 other things I swear by. You might have heard me talk about them before. 1, trusting the process. We talk a lot about that, diet and exercise. And 2, same deal, delaying gratification. And again, exercise is a great example of this. If you trust the process and put in 1% more daily or so many times a week in the case of exercise, you might be exercising that every day, you might not. By the end of the year, you can absolutely be transformed. But the big but here is you need to trust the process enough not to see the results day to day, and you've got to keep trusting the process. This ties directly into delaying gratification, not just because results can take time, but heck man, it's early. I'm tired. I'm grumpy. I want to watch last night's episode of Vanderpump again, not go work out. So this is what delaying gratification is all about. When you trust the process and do it, over the course of a year, like James said, you could end up to 37 times better than where you started. I don't know how much you guys know about or care about investing, but it's something I care about and I'm interested in. And a 37% rate of return over the course of a year is absolutely nuts. Like good nuts, not like bad nuts. Bad nuts. Not to mention, guys, this doesn't have to be a gamble to get that kind of return. You guys are in control of this 100%. It's all about your mind. Lesson number 2 from James. Forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you're having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you, the problem's your system. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change to necessitate it. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. I really like that one. You should Should write that on a wall. Atomic Habits presents a proven system for building these good habits and breaking the bad ones. This is a really, really cool one, in part because I really, really, really like it. And then I also don't 100% agree with an element of it. I do think you should set goals. I think setting goals, affirming them, and even more so writing them down is really important and powerful. The act of writing itself can really help things actualize. It makes it real often. That being said, I do believe 100%, much in line with what James is saying, the system around the goals are way more important than the goal itself. Back to exercise. Let's say you want to lose 20 pounds so you can see those abs. You want to see those Brad Pitt Fight Club abs. Yeah. The first rule of caffeinated is you do not talk about not eating carbs. So you have your goal, but now what? Well, you can think about the goal every day, but that's not going to do you much good with no system, no plan, and a bag of Doritos in your hand because you're so overwhelmed by the prospect and the process of success that you just jump ship. Success can seem unattainable without a plan, and Doritos are always delicious. Cool Ranch Doritos, man. I've spent nights dreaming about Cool Ranch Doritos. I think I've gone to sleep with bags full of Cool Ranch Doritos in my cabinets and woken up with empty bags of Cool Ranch Doritos in my bed. You wrap your head around that one. So you want the body, you have the goal, awesome. Let me ask you about your system. How will you eat? When will you train? How will you prioritize sleep? How long will your cut or your bulk be for? What foods will be the foundation of your diet? Where and when will you get your shopping in? What supplements will you use? How will you reflect on your progress? Will you use a journal? How will you handle diet fatigue? And how will you handle friends or family that aren't on your plan or supporting your goal? When will you allow yourself room to incorporate the foods you don't want to be eating too much of? How often will you take pictures because you know the scale is way too misleading? Will you use a macro tracking app? Will you weigh your food? What kind of weight training will you do? How many days a week? Who will you rely on if you aren't seeing the results you want in your plan? And what will the actual goal be? And how will you celebrate it? When you can answer those questions, perhaps not all of them, but a good handful of them, you then have a plan, my friends. With a plan comes trial and error. With trial and error comes successes. You learn what works for you, and then, only then, can you develop your system. Because what works for me, as much as I love sharing it with you, may not work for you. That's why so much of the fun is in the journey. You can learn a lot about yourself in the process. You can also make it fun. Lesson 3, build identity-based habits. Now, the key to building lasting habits is focusing on creating a new identity first. Your current behaviors are simply a reflection of your current identity. Now, what you do now is a mirror image of the person you believe you are, either consciously or subconsciously. To change your behavior for good, you need to start believing new things about yourself. You need to build identity-based habits. Changing your beliefs isn't nearly as hard as you might think. There are 2 steps. Decide the type of person you want to be, prove it to yourself with small wins. Your identity emerges out of your habits. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. This is one that I talked about a lot in the last year, kind of doing influencing, micro-influencing, whatever the hell that is. I kept preaching this idea of deciding who you wanted to be, or even modeling yourself after someone you wanted to be like, and then kind of reverse engineering it. I was suggesting literally asking yourself daily, if I was someone who had this ability or achieved this thing or this accomplishment, how would I act? How would this person act? How would this person start their day? What would my relationships be like? How would I end my day? Would I meditate? Would I pray? Would I write affirmations? How often would I study or work out or whatever your goal is? Again, there's no wrong or right answer here, but I believe just the act of asking that question, it definitely opens your mind up to possibilities, things you may not have considered before that could be life-changing. I think also, unfortunately, we're often not doing enough, or we expect a result out of an action that's nowhere near comparable in effort. So look at your favorite athlete. You know, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Derek Jeter, I don't know. For me, it was always Jaromir Jagr. Jaromir Jagr was always my favorite hockey player, and I never had any real aspirations of being anywhere near as great as a hockey player as he was. I mean, heck, half the time I could barely skate. But Jagr had the ability to keep playing at the highest level when most people his age kept having to retire. And he's still playing. He still does it. And when everyone else after a game would go to sleep, he would go to the rink and skate. He would go to the gym and work out. Now, I'm not saying there's a formula to reach that level of talent. That may be God given. That may be a whole other thing I can't wrap my mind around. But I am saying if you take someone you admire, like any of those athletes or public figures or anyone in your life, I imagine you're going to find enormous work ethics, habits, and systems behind their successes. Reverse engineer this stuff, use it for yourself. And speaking of reverse engineering, we've got some more UAP stuff coming up in a few episodes. You're not going to want to miss that. Do you believe? Do you want to believe? James Clear also offers on his website some great ways to make new habits and break bad ones. In terms of making new great habits, he lists 4 powerful steps. 1, make it obvious. 2, make it attractive. 3, make it easy. 4, make it satisfying. Like a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos. I like this. This is one of the things like my morning. I've been talking about grinding my own coffee beans. It's kind of like the habit of grinding your own coffee beans and using Fairlife Ultra High Protein milk in your coffee. The coffee's the first thing you see in the morning. It's obvious. It's attractive because it's delicious. It's easy because, geez, man, it's just making a cup of coffee. And it's satisfying, again, because it tastes so good. So yeah, it's silly, perhaps. It's simple, of course. But every journey starts with a first step. Put the stuff you want in front of you. And I love this one. How do you break a bad habit? Well, you kind of inverse the first couple of laws. So 1, you make it invisible. 2, you make it unattractive. 3, you make it difficult. 4, you make it unsatisfying. All right, let's go back to Charlie and his addiction to Cool Ranch Doritos. I'm not addicted. I really like them. Take this one with a laugh, but bear with me. What would I do? Well, I wouldn't bring them in the house, which would make them invisible, kinda. I would find a healthier, delicious option that I would actually feel good about eating, like the Sasanta avocado chips. Those are great. I would make it that I tell my kids that those Doritos were bad. So eating the chips in front of them would be almost impossible. And frankly, all of those things combined, not to mention how bad I would feel about polishing off a bag of those delicious suckers, would make the feeling after eating them very unsatisfying. Not during, after. So again, I say this mostly in jest, have a few chips here and there. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you kind of get the idea. And I love this approach when it comes to building good habits and breaking bad ones. Be systematic, be smart, make it easy for yourself, and your chances of success go up. So that's it for Atomic Habits with James Clear. I love the book. You love the book. Read it again. Read it for the first time. Send me a new copy. I've worn out the pages so bad on mine. And as always, let me know what you think in the comments of this very powerful book. And what book should I talk about next? What book do you want to hear about next? I would love to hear from you.